Hello, good evening, and very warm welcome to Wembley Inner Space Tuesday Talk in English. And today's topic is Befriending Higher Consciousness. And this will be by Sister De Souza, Masana De Souza. She has a background in coaching, facilitation, counselling, training, and meditation. She has a variety of experiences in all these things. Now today she is going to talk on befriending higher consciousness. I can share my personal experience with Sister Masana, a very warm, a beautiful person. When you interact with her, she makes you feel very comfortable, very kind, generous, always ready to help. And she's been studying and teaching Raj Yoga meditation for 17 years. And she has, you can see her on YouTube and a lot of other videos where she's talked about compassionate listening. She's got such a compassionate heart. And there's another one, the root of meditation for health and well-being. That's another one, very beautiful one. So let's all welcome Masana De Souza for the talk of today, Befriending Higher Consciousness. All yours, Masana. Please welcome. Welcome. Come and join us.
The greetings of peace and love to each and every one of you. Thank you, Amrita, for that lovely warm welcome. It's so lovely to be back in Wembley Centre. This is magic. I was thinking as I was driving here that it was over 2 years ago, of course, before lockdown, when I would come every now and then and share and meet with yourselves. And I expect that most of you now are watching on Facebook, YouTube, Zoom. And special warm welcome for those of you that have been able to come in person. Because there's something different, isn't there, when we can actually see each other and be in the same space. And yet there have been so many benefits within the challenges of lockdown. There have been benefits as well, and one of them is using technology at a more higher level of being able to reach more human beings across the planet. And so now that we can have hybrid and have the best of both worlds, magic, absolute magic. And for me, magic is what I'm going to play with each and every one of you this evening. When I refer to magic, I'm referring to pure magic. And so for even a moment, maybe close your eyes, take a deep cleansing breath, breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. Release any tension in the body that maybe has accumulated during the day of whichever scenes that you have been involved in, whichever actors, i.e. souls and bodies that have come your way, either in person, phone, email, that maybe have been a little challenging. Breathe through that and release and let go. And come into your own inner sacred, quiet space within the heart and mind of who you truly are as an eternal spiritual being, living this temporary experience in the physical body. And as you take another deep cleansing breath and release, allow an image to come up of a magical experience you have had maybe in the last week or month or whenever, that for you was pure synchronicity, where whatever happened, it was in the flow. Either that the accurate people turned up in the accurate moment, or you felt so free and light and full of joy. Allow that image, that memory to become very present. And even if any negativity gets in the way, imagine putting it in a bubble, let it release above your head, and trust and be open to a magical experience. Observe how you feel in this moment. The expression on the face, the feeling inside. And when you're ready, gently, gently take another deep cleansing breath. Come back to the present moment. Open your eyes. If you have your notebook with you, draw a lovely big heart, and in it put whatever that feeling was, or draw a little symbol of what will remind you of that magical moment, magical experience. And if you have colored pens, then I encourage you to use them, because we are creative beings. Each and every one of us is a creative being. And at times I'm going to ask you reflective questions that at times will bring out something more deeper that's deep within the heart and mind of you, the eternal soul. And so be open to them and either answer them in your mind. However, if you've got a notebook, it's useful to pop it down that you can reflect on more deeply later. For these reflective questions, I find, are really helpful to support me on the spiritual journey that each and every one of you is choosing to embark on, evolve, and transcend. Embark on, journey through, and transcend. And because each and every one is a unique soul, it will unfold uniquely for each of us. And as we continue to explore this, also be aware and maybe use a different color or a different symbol for when something comes up that feels like resistance or feels like a block. Sometimes you'll experience it as heavy energy in the body, or something will flash up in the mind of the soul, that is resisting what you are hearing. And I encourage you, if you have two different colors, or use to maybe draw a line down the middle of the page, so you can put what is maybe from the heart and draw a symbol of a heart at the top, the language of the heart, which is the soul, soul consciousness, and on the other side of the page put where negativity gets in the way to block me, drain that pure, vibrant energy of who I truly am as an eternal being, a light full of unconditional love, eternal peace, happiness, joy, and at times I can access bliss, kindness, ability to create pure thoughts which create pure feelings and pure intentions. This is so important to be aware of, that I am learning how to become the master of this mind, which is a faculty of I, the soul, redirecting when it gets caught in the dead ends or the blocks or the pain or the sorrow, any of that negative energy. However, see it as signposting me to go and choose. The word choose is very high vibration. It's the opposite of I must, or I should, or I could, or I would, or I have to. When you experiment with those words, be aware of the energy dropping within you, because it can experience it as quite punitive, that inner critic, that inner voice saying, I've got to do this, I must do it, which can actually put more pressure on me. Whereas when I use the energy of the thought, using the word when it comes out in sound, yet starts first in the mind of I, the soul, I choose. It has a different energy. There's a determination to actually follow through with that powerful intention. So experiment in your daily life, and the words that I'm suggesting that go under the heart, the language of the heart, yes, the language of the soul, is different from the heavy negative energy of body consciousness when I'm trapped in the essence of fear. So fear is also part of that heading of the negative language, the old negative beliefs. And the acronym for fear, some of you may be familiar with it, others maybe it's the first time you're hearing it. And I encourage you to write the letters one under the other, F, then E, then A, then R, one under the other. And the F is false, the E is evidence, the A is appearing, and the R will be the opposite of false, which will be real. False evidence appearing real can sound like a conundrum. What on earth does that mean? And as I've reflected on it over the years and experimented, it's a virtual reality. Check it out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. That when I maybe have spent a day in stress, anxiety, worry, which will then trigger from those negative old beliefs, those old worries, those old fears, will trigger an old, false, negative belief. And it will be running around in the back of my mind. And some of the most common ones that us human beings have acquired from either the family or the caregivers that raised us, either fostered, adopted, born into, are I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not valuable, I'll never be successful, everybody's better than me. Those are all false. They're ones we may have acquired from early childhood. They may have been imprinted over time, by different caregivers, maybe teachers in the school, maybe people from my own race, religion, culture, gender, age group, class. All those external separation and divisions cause us human beings to get lost and disconnected from who I truly am. For I am all those beautiful spiritual qualities that I mentioned before. They're eternal. I, the soul, have access to eternal wisdom, eternal truth. They're all within me. It's that they've sunk into the subconscious at times, and I've forgotten at times who I really am. And yet come into these talks exploring, experimenting with Raja Yoga meditation is going to reveal the star, the diamond of who I truly am, so that I can step more into my self-respect, my authentic self. So make a note of, and maybe afterwards reflect, what does it mean to me to be authentic? And some of the things that people will often say is to be more honest, to be more truthful, to have that self-respect and respect for others, seeing beyond their flaws, seeing beyond their weaknesses. There are many other aspects to being authentic. I'll leave that for you to explore. And for the two that joined, you might like to take a paper and board. It's not a lecture. Sometimes there's a point that you might like to add. Thank you. And so this fear game, going back to the fear, when I'm triggered, so that's another thing to highlight. And after the session, and maybe during the week, start to make a list of what triggers you to move from inner peace, inner compassion, inner kindness, with a still mind and an open heart where your feelings emanate from. And the heart I'm referring to is you, the soul, rather than the physical organ of the heart, the pump, which is very useful to keep the blood circulating around the body. However, that's not what I'm referring to. That is temporary. The body is temporary. It's the soul that is the life force, is the energy, and that's where we are putting our attention. And so going back to, as you become more aware of triggers, one example is I became aware as I started this inner journey and reflecting and choosing to learn, who am I really? Who do I belong to? What is my true purpose for being present in this body from this mixed cultures, races, age, class, gender, etc.? What is my true purpose? So that's one powerful question to note in your journal. And every now and then, ask yourself the questions again. Because at different times on your spiritual journey, you may have other answers that are deeper and will reveal more to you. Okay. So triggers, for me, it was the tone of voice. The patronizing tone of voice, where I would experience somebody and I would perceive, be aware of the words I'm using, check them out and reflect on them for yourself. If I am perceiving somebody speaking in that arrogant, extended ego, domineering way, in the past it would trigger me inside to feel like, who are you to speak to me like that? Which of course engenders conflict, which is the opposite of being authentic. in my self-respect and the respect of another, even if I am experiencing some disquiet, discomfort within? Am I strong enough inside to rise above the perceived feeling of someone verbally threatening me and not allow it to contaminate I, the soul, not taking me away from my inner peace, inner self-compassion? So this is this discipline of continuing to evolve from inside out with a daily spiritual practice that is my foundation to every day. During the day, to check and change. Am I still in that inner peace, that inner balance, that self-care, being my best friend, being my inner coach? Or do I leave that to be nice and kind to others that I feel safe with? And all the rest I ignore, or either feel threatened by, or feel they're either superior to me or inferior to me. That's the trap of the ego game, of the negative vices. So I need to be that gentle, compassionate, loving, detached observer of my own thoughts, feelings, and intentions, regularly throughout the day, to see where am I getting trapped, either in triggers or in those false, old, negative beliefs that I mentioned earlier. And there will be other old negative beliefs that you will identify, and I encourage you to write them down. And then the dances, and I like to play with words that are creative, that have a very freeing energy, that bring me more into a place of inner lightness. Because I and each of you and every soul on the planet is a tiny point of light. So the more I can stay in that higher conscious awareness, I can rise above whatever is pulling me down, whatever old stuff, old memories, old negative patterns of behavior, be it procrastination, be it avoidance, be it aggression. There are so many different ways that can take me away from my inner authenticity. And so, going back to when I am triggered by any of the things I've mentioned that are negative, then that sends a message from the mind of I, the soul, to the physical organ, the brain, that sends a message to the two little adrenal glands above the kidneys and releases adrenaline. And adrenaline, when I am in a place of danger, and check, how often am I really in a place of danger? And yet adrenaline can, at the end of a day, if I'm stressed, I'm in fear, I'm anxious, the mind is running round and round with what I haven't done or what I should have done, or I must do this, all of those negative, draining thoughts. Then by the end of the day, the body will be exhausted, the mind and the heart of either soul will be in such chaos, I won't be able to access the inner peace, the inner compassion, the inner wisdom, the inner truth that is lying quietly, waiting for the soul to go, I forgot who I really am. Let me reconnect with who I truly am. The rest is the false evidence appearing real. So go into that chemical, the adrenaline and the cortisol that runs through the body. Human beings have learnt behavior over many births. And even if it's the first birth, to go into one of the 3 F's. And the F's are not any swear words. It's either that, and check for yourself, which is your main default button, that when you are feeling threatened or perceive a threat, be it physical, mental, emotional, do you mainly go into fight, where you will use communication and language that is quite negative, and it's referred to as violent communication, violent language of, how dare you speak to me like that? So the tone of voice changes, the facial expression changes, the body language changes, and the words become quite heated and derogatory. So do I go into fight? And each of you will know, I don't assume that any of you will go to the next stages. However, on the planet and behind closed doors, people, if they're not in control of those negative emotions and have not sought to explore what's underneath that, can go into violence, be it the knife, the gun, or the bomb. So the micro to the macro on planet Earth, within our human family, has that learnt behavior, yes? So that's the fight. Or is my main default button flight? So I go into avoidance. It's almost like the ostrich with the head in the sand. Oh, there's no conflict here, either within myself or between myself and another or others. What's the problem? There's no problem. So do I go into denial? Do I repress and suppress and depress strong feelings until they finally erupt and explode? So this journey, spiritual journey, is to keep being the gentle, compassionate, loving, detached observer of self, to listen to the heart of either soul when I'm in pain or sorrow. Not to repress the feelings, to go deeper beneath that. The feelings will guide me like inner signposts of where there is a block, because we all hold heart wounds in the soul, both from this birth, and if you believe in past births like we do at the Brahma Kumaris, however, whatever your belief system is accurate for you in this moment, there are intergenerational heart wounds. So that's something you could reflect on over the next few days and weeks. Where in your family constellation, be it the nuclear family, the family you were born into, the family you co-created, the extended family, where is there intergenerational trauma? Or where is there certain things that the family you grew up with said, we don't talk about that? Or where is there division and separation, be it on any of those levels I spoke about earlier, be it gender, race, culture, religion, politics, age, class, anything that you look at that divides human beings, instead of rising to this higher consciousness of befriending who I truly am, and then seeing with fresh eyes, the inner eye, the third eye, the soul, looking out through the windows. The 2 physical eyes are the windows for the soul to look out through. So where am I getting trapped, and where am I setting myself free from the toxicity that can trap me in the old world language of blame, attack, judgment, criticism. Biggest critic is of self. And then the finger starts to get pointed out to members of the family, neighbors, colleagues or boss at work, the weather, the politicians. That's the old game. It exhausts self and exhausts everybody else. So the greatest virus on the planet at this time, I suggest, affecting every soul to a greater or lesser extent, is fear. It's a greater virus. The biological ones will come and go. But if you explore it, fear is what traps us, yes? Into not recognizing how awesome each and every one of you, multiplied by 8 billion souls in bodies, every one of us is awesome. So it's always coming back, and well done for being part of this sharing and the other sharings that are offered you, to really keep on reclaiming who you truly are and becoming more alert, aware and attentive when you have acquired the falseness of the old belief of whatever the game is, you know, that women are superior to men, or young people are more intelligent than elders, or swap it round. You know, all those games of manipulation. They're false. Now, only you can rediscover that and check again. Is it real? Is it really real? Is it really true, what I've learned? If it is of value to you, then of course shine it, honor it, bring it more into your conscious awareness, into your higher consciousness, because that's your high values, your spiritual values, your spiritual virtues. Call on those spiritual powers to withdraw, reflect, to be able to decide, what am I now ready to pack up? Which old negative beliefs, old negative patterns of behavior that pull me back into the turmoil, into the toxicity of the fear based on untruths. It's a constant releasing and reevaluating what is precious to you. What is your true purpose, other than the titles that each of us have accrued, be it from the gender, from the family relationships we play, in the work setting, student, whatever. Beneath that is your true sparkling self. And it's time on the planet for each of us to step into our authentic self and bring those spiritual qualities into the present, so that you become the center of your life. And ask yourself for a moment, am I the center of my life? Or does everybody else come first? And I give myself the least regular time? Am I at the beck and call of others? Do I allow others' opinions of me, be them positive or negative, to inflate or deflate the ego, meaning superiority or inferiority? Both are illusions. Both are illusions. So either way, when I play that game with others, it's a lose-lose. And this is about, on a higher consciousness, creating a win-win, first for self always, and then in that inner peace, in that inner self-compassion, self-respect, I generate that higher awareness, that higher consciousness, and see others with that pure vision. That's the way God, Supreme Soul, the benefactor, that is beyond this old world of the blame game. We can connect with your best friend, supreme companion. So many relationships we can have with the one that does not get trapped in this old world of fear, games, blame games. And the more that I tune in regularly and take the spiritual pure powers, tune into the ocean of eternal wisdom, eternal truth, then I'm navigating a very different inner spiritual journey that then vibrates back into the family, friends, neighbors, community, colleagues, the whole human family across the planet. Because I have a very different vision. So you are the superstar of your life. Do you see yourself like that? And be aware of what negativity may come up when I say that. Make a note of it under the negative language. Because that again will reveal to you, where am I still trapped in old, false, negative beliefs? I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not valuable, everybody's better than me, I'll never be successful. And also, over the days and weeks, explore, what does it mean for you to be successful? Because I observe in the old world, success seems to be part of the status, role, and rank of superiority on an external level of domination, exploitation, divide and rule. For me, that's not success. That's the old game. For me, success is when I am stepping into who I truly am and allowing myself to be, bringing out the gifts and specialities. Each of us, as I said before, is unique. We all have these eternal, godly, spiritual qualities, and it's time to keep bringing them out and using them, like polish your jewels within and use them daily. You know that old story of, and maybe you have that too, if you've acquired maybe a valuable crystal glasses or silver cutlery or special china from your elders, and you have it sitting in a glass cabinet, and it's only used on special occasions, maybe once a year. Or you have special clothes that are only worn on special occasions. And what now is the time is to use whatever I have within me all of the time that I value, that I know is precious. So it's allowing your dreams, your visions of who you truly are. Maybe as a child, you had a dream, you had a vision of what you could offer or what you wanted to express. Because that's what we, the souls, embodies. That's our true purpose, to express what is within, that is of purity, peace, love, compassion, kindness, wisdom, gentleness. To express it. There's another acronym I would like to play with, and it's, instead of, I said fight and I said flight, yes, the avoidance. And the third one is freeze. And so there are times where it's described as a deer caught in the headlights of a car in the dark road. And so you may be someone who, when you hear something negative being said to you, or you witness some violence on the screen, social media, news, whatever, and you freeze and your mind shuts down. It will have shut down with the fight and flight as well. However, freeze is when I go into that shock. If for a moment I freeze and I turn that into a pause and I move from the frozen shock into that more elevated consciousness of gentle, compassionate, loving, detached observer of my own thoughts and feelings, then I am reactivating the higher consciousness. I'll be able to access the wisdom of, is this the time to speak my truth? Or is this the time to go quiet and hold the peace? Right? However, freeze, if I stay in the frozen state, then I'm of no use to myself and I'm of no use to anybody else. If I stay in the fight mode, I will alienate myself from others, and also I will cause great damage to myself mentally and physically, because whatever is going on in the mind of the soul on a negative, toxic level will lodge also in the body. The adrenaline goes to the vulnerable part of the body. Each of us has a vulnerable part. Be aware where yours is. So mine is the stomach, and you know if the stomach contracts, what will happen? Some it will be a migraine, some it will be palpitations of the heart, some it will be I can't catch my breath, some it will be the backache. So be alert and aware, because that's a signal. If it starts, you can correct it by going back into being loving and gentle and kind to yourself, and ask yourself, what's triggering this reaction? And if you take a few deep cleansing breaths and listen, you will get the answer. You will get the answer, because you are the wise one. You know more than what you actually believe, that the world has told you it's others that have all the knowledge. Not true. The knowledge is within, and it's to access it more regularly through meditation, through reflection, asking these deep questions, journaling, drawing pictures, exercising the body, being mindful of what you eat, only of pure energy in the food will help the body to radiate, that can allow the soul to express more easily, physical exercise. So everything in balance from inside out. Okay, so the other, instead of fight, flight, freeze, identify which is your main default, and now you're going to transform it over time with practice. And I've been weaving in some of the spiritual practices that you can experiment with and bring more into your regular practice so they are more easily accessible. So play with the acronym FLOW. So instead of fight, flight, freeze, I choose, remember that's a very high energy word, I choose to flow. And the F, let me see what I had put down before, you can play with it in however you like on a positive level, is to face yourself. So the F, L below it, O below it, W below it. So the F is face it, or face yourself. Be honest with yourself. Ask yourself those inquiring questions. What's really going on at the moment? Be gentle with yourself. Be compassionate with yourself. Open yourself up to listening to whatever first thought emanates into the mind. Trust it. It will guide you. The L is for let go. So regularly I need to check, what am I still holding on to? Is it a toxic relationship with another? Is it a toxic relationship with myself, where I'm the inner critic and always putting myself down? Or is it letting go of, at a deeper level, my old negative beliefs that trap me back in the inner prison? And O for being the observer, and W for willpower, spiritual powers, power to discern, to look at the consequences, possible consequences, before I make a decision. Give yourself lots of options when you are faced with an inner challenge that manifests externally. Stop, pause. If I take route A, what will happen? What are the possible consequences? If I go for route B, what are the possible consequences? And so when you take time to pause and reflect, sometimes write it out, sometimes draw it in symbols, sometimes imagine it, because you have all of that knowledge within. You have enough to play with. When you are using regular meditation and connecting with the divine, your mind is going to become freer and lighter, and your wisdom will flow more effortlessly. So I'm aware of the time. I believe I need to pause. Oh, there are two different clocks. Which one do I follow? I'm following the one over here. Okay, so before we have a meditation, if there are any questions, any observations, any aha moments, because sometimes it can trigger something else within you that you get it. And one last thing I'd like to say is, whatever I resist persists. Whatever I resist persists. So maybe once a week check, is there anything I'm procrastinating on? Is there anything I'm avoiding? Let me go underneath it. What is that unmet need, which is a universal value? 5 main needs that human beings have. There are many. The 5 main ones are, check it out for yourself, need to be listened to, a need to be understood, a need to be accepted, a need to be respected, and a need to feel safe. If at any time those needs are not met, the negative feelings, the fight, flight, or freeze will come in. Now you know you play with the flow, and you will access what is accurate. Yes. A need to be listened to, understood, accepted, respected, feel safe. And it'll be the same for every human being on the planet. Will manifest differently a reaction when the need is not met. However, the underlying need is the universal values of human beings. Any questions that anyone has, or any aha moments, observations? I didn't hear that. Fight, flight, and freeze.
Yeah, because I'm a bit late.
Okay, so fight is violent communication, first with self, as the inner critic, and then I point the finger out and I use violent communication, which is negative, derogatory, disrespectful language to others. And at another level, if I'm not in control of that, then it could go to violence with a fist, a knife, a gun, or a bomb. Flight is when I go into avoidance and I pretend that everything is okay, and I ignore and deny and repress, suppress, depress my feelings till they blow up out of proportion. And freeze is when I go into shock and I cannot think or access wisdom and truth. So flow is what we're aiming for in any moment. Any question, any observation, any aha moment?
There is one question. When we say befriending higher consciousness, and you spoke about checking your own inner conscious, so I'm sure you'll give a demonstration in meditation to the viewers, but what is the simplest way to have that connection being made?
Within self.
And the higher consciousness.
And the higher. So it's, as I've been suggesting, I need to first be alert and aware and attentive when I am out of inner balance, when I'm peaceless, when I'm scared, when I'm in fear, when I'm blocking myself or another. And then check and change. Take a few deep cleansing breaths like we did at the beginning and bring the body into a relaxed state. Then go within, connect with your true light, I the soul. Recognize you are more than this body. Remind yourself, I am peace, I am gentleness, I am compassion. And then with practice, you start to tune in to your supreme companion, best friend. Whatever words you use to describe, but the Brahma Kumaris, we say supreme soul, Baba, Shiva. It can be the ocean of unconditional love, of peace. So experiment with what resonates with you and takes you beyond, even for a moment, from whatever the situation or the nightmare that you're experiencing within the mind. And we will have a meditation to experience that in a moment. So yes, another question? I think you need the mic.
I can't remember the Brahma Kumari's 5 values. I know you said peace and compassion. What were the other 3?
So the main ones are unconditional love, eternal peace, eternal truth, eternal wisdom, purity, happiness, joy, and bliss. And there are many progeny for each of those. Yes. Anyone else? Anyone got an aha moment or saw where maybe I get trapped at times and I'm realizing I can change that from a negative into a positive? And that's another tip. You turn that negative old belief, for instance, I am not valuable. You remove the negative words, keep it in the present. It's only in the present can I connect with the divine, the beloved. And so it becomes, I am valuable. So the more you can check and change and remove negative words, the negative energy, and bring it into the positive present, then every time you catch yourself, check and change. And the more you tell yourself who you truly are, then you become that again. It's a process, it's a journey. So, okay? All right, so let's have meditation before we close for the evening. And I thank you all for your attention, and I know that you will take something that is of value for you. So settle the body and yet sit comfortably and yet alert, aware and attentive. And you can either have your eyes slightly open, not staring, just soften the eyelids and look at the beautiful picture behind my head, or look at the floor, or gently close your eyes, yet be aware of keeping the body alert and aware. Take a few deep cleansing breaths through the nose. Slowly breathe out through the mouth. Relax the hands. Imagine you're breathing from the feet. Take that breath all the way up the legs, the abdomen, the chest, to the top of the head. Allow the breath to cascade up and over the head, down the back, in a circular, cleansing, releasing breath. Breathe in peace. Breathe out peacelessness. Breathe in compassion. Breathe out tension. Breathe a beautiful color through every cell in the body. Bring in more flow, creativity, relaxation. And now gently, gently take the attention away from the physical body. The body is the sacred, temporary temple for who I truly am. I take the attention up to the center of the forehead, between the two physical eyes is where I, the soul, resides. I am a tiny point of light, invisible to the physical eyes. Yet with practice, I can tune into who I truly am, the life force, the life energy. I, the soul, am eternal peace, calm, stillness, serenity. I am unconditional love, compassion, kindness, gentleness, generosity. I am happiness, joy and bliss. I can access purity and create pure thoughts, pure feelings, and pure intentions. I have access to eternal wisdom, eternal truth. And with your inner mind's eye, imagine you, the soul, are like a tiny little sparkling star, full of all these radiant, eternal, godly, spiritual qualities. And now gently, gently, feel yourself becoming lighter and moving beyond the physical body, this physical planet Earth. You're gently rising higher and higher in this gentle flow of unconditional love, gentleness, peace. Experience being drawn towards a bright light that emanates waves of compassion, gentleness, loving kindness, unlimited. Experience the vibration flowing through you and around you, holding you in this gentle, loving space. Experience being loved completely, that you are being seen through the eyes of purity, the eyes of unlimited compassion and healing. Feel yourself becoming lighter and stronger from inside out. Know that you are in your higher consciousness, connecting with the divine, who loves you unconditionally. Knowing that you can connect in any moment, every day, and be powered up with the grace, the beauty, the love, the purity of our benefactor, unlimited from beyond. And now gently, gently, when you are ready, gently become aware of floating back. You are now seated in the center of the forehead, looking out through the two physical eyes, I the soul. Be aware of the body, maybe move the hands and feet. Take maybe a stretch, a cleansing breath, and yet keep that experience with you and nurture and sustain it. Om Shanti. I'm a peaceful, loving soul. Come back to the present moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Masana. Thank you so much to everyone, and I'm sure we all enjoyed it. A lot of rich content, but very simply, easily with the acronyms. It just went straight into our heads. It's easy for us to remember and practice, and I'm sure we would also want to re-listen to it. So those who have come in person in-house and would like to re-listen the talk, you can always go on our website or our YouTube channel, Inner Space Memory. That's the YouTube channel, and you can click on the link with the same topic today. So you can also visit our past sessions. Any session that you would like to revisit is available on the YouTube channel. And special thank you to all our online viewers as well. So thank you once again, Masana. And anybody who would like to read on the same topic, we've got a lovely book called The Wings of Soul. And it is, again, allowing you to identify your own spiritual identity. So on your way out, you can browse the shop and have a wonderful evening. Thank you. Om Shanti. No more. So welcome for that as well.